Today is Canada's 150th birthday, and I'm gonna make a birdhouse. Wait, what? After the time-consuming process of last week's project, I really wanted to do something simple. So what could be simpler than a birdhouse? But it's Canada's birthday, so it has to be Canada-themed, right? I saw this really beautiful, elegant birdhouse design online the other day called the Tree Ring Birdhouse from Gerard Lim at Hinka Design, and please tell me I just pronounced that right. The idea with his was to make it look like the rings of a knot in a tree. But I really like the staggered look, so I decided, I'm gonna try this. So I printed off a whole bunch of the logos for Canada's 150, and I decided I was gonna layer them and cut them out. With a bit of spray adhesive, I stuck the papers to the boards I had picked out, and it made it easy to cut it out on the bandsaw. I very quickly realized that he had used material that was much thinner than mine, because he had about 12 layers, and once I hit about 5, the birdhouse was definitely the right size. Next, I needed all the little white pieces. So I made out a template and traced it onto a piece of pine that was pretty thin, just enough to give me the definition of the logo. Now, if you're going to try something like this at home, I'd probably suggest more the scroll saw for something like this, but for some reason I decided the bandsaw would be more than enough to cut out these tiny little pieces. Well, that's looking cool already. Now I just needed to get the paper off. Some of it was a little easier than others. It all depended on how much glue I put on and how long I waited to stick them together. Basically, it just meant a lot of sanding. Luckily for where the paper was stuck, I didn't have to concern myself too much, and you'll understand this in a bit once I start gluing it up. But I did have to get rid of the bandsaw marks, and I was only able to do so much with spindle sander. But lucky for me, I have a visitor. I really should put a warning on the door of visitors we could put to work. But it looks like he's having fun. Now, since I've heard that scientifically two objects cannot take up the same space, I needed to hollow out a bit of area for these birds. I marked out where they overlapped and then started connecting the dots so that I would make a little bit of a hollow area. But I didn't want to take away too much material because I didn't want the spikes to be too weak. So I tried to stay about a 1-inch distance away from them all while making this little hole. And then went over to the bandsaw and just cut it out. I drilled a hole so that I could pivot my blade a bit easier. And I didn't care too much about the slit at the bottom, because that would allow for any water that happened to get inside the birdhouse to drain out instead of pooling up and rotting out the inside. I'm not sure what kind of bird is going to move into this, but whatever it is, it's going to have a very cozy house. Now I just need to make the front and back walls to give these birds a little more privacy. To give a bit more space on the inside, I traced out which piece matched up with the front and the back, and then just routed it out so that I'd gain about 3/8 of an inch, just a bit more space. Gluing this thing up was, for some reason, a very interesting process. Lining them all up was really difficult, trying to get all the points to angle in the right direction, and I ended up clamping and unclamping it a few times before I finally got it to stay. And then, like all good woodworkers, I added a gazillion clamps. Actually, I think I could have added a few more. You can still see the piece. With those 4 pieces glued together, it was actually now kind of starting to look a little cool and a little bit like a birdhouse. See? It's big enough for a bird. But in order for them to get inside, I needed to drill a hole in the front. And I needed to figure out where, depending on all my tiny little pieces that were going to go in the front. So I laid them all out, and then with a drill bit, carefully marked out the center of all the points. Do make sure if you're going to do this at home, you use the dullest spade bit you have. Makes it so much more interesting. Okay, so we're glued up. We have a hole for the door. We have a hole to hold the little peg so they can stand at it. Now we're going to stain it. And I have to admit, this part did make it feel as though it was strangely un-Canadian, because for some reason the reddest stain I could possibly find in my cupboard was gunstock red. But it gives it this really orangey glow. I like it. I let the top pieces clear pine because I really liked the look of it and you could see some of the grain. But they did need to be cut out so that the birds could actually get through the hole, which was now being covered by all the little pieces. So quick marking and then off to the scroll saw this time. A little bit of sanding and testing out to make sure the hole is actually uncovered, and we're good to go. With the front looking great, it was now time to put the back of the birdhouse on. And I made the back piece just a slight bit smaller so that it actually would try to cascade back down the other side like the original birdhouse. But again, because these pieces were so much thicker than what he had used, I was only able to put one piece cascading down the back. But I did remember to screw these ones on so that you could take it off afterwards if you needed to clean out the birdhouse. Back to the front, and now I'm just putting the decals on, putting as little glue as I possibly can because I don't want any sort of squeeze out. I don't want to screw up the front with having squeeze out, trying to deal with fixing the stain and all these pieces, and it just gets messy. I was doing well with this until the little stick that they stand on, and well, paintbrush will clean that up. And there it is, Canada's 150 birdhouse. I think it's cute. I actually really like this one. Compared to the last project I did, this was so much easier. So much easier, but I think it's kind of cute. I like it. I'll put some pictures on my Instagram when I actually do this, get this thing hung up. Unfortunately, the little birdies will not have a July 1st move-in date because I will not be in town for this weekend, but I think it's cute. Happy birthday, Canada. To check out some more wood chip Liz videos, click some of the links here. And don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.